Welcome, friends. This is Under the Arc Sports. I'm Eric.
And I'm David.
And today we are going to preview Mizzou versus James Madison in the NCAA softball tournament super regional. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook and Instagram. So, David, James Madison is not exactly the team Mizzou was probably expecting to face this time last week. They came out of the regional that was hosted by the number 9 overall seed Tennessee.
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise to see Tennessee drop 2 games. James Madison, folks, is for real.
Yeah, so first, a little bit of overview of the series. It's going to start Friday at 8 o'clock. Game 2 will be Saturday at 6 o'clock. And then Game 3, if it's needed, that's going to be at either 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. I guess they'll figure that out once they see how many Game 3s there are. The first 2 games are going to be on ESPNU. And then Game 3, again, they're going to figure out how many Game 3s they have and go from there. So we'll figure that out later. Now, looking at James Madison, their mascot, the Dukes, their record is 37-1. And their one loss was to Elon. Well, that's not like a matchup problem that just was weird. It was kind of a fluky thing because James Madison beat Elon 5 times. So it was just an off day. And that's it. That's their only loss. Now, David, they play in the Colonial Athletic Association. So not, it's not an SEC gauntlet of a schedule that they played. But 37-1 is 37-1.
Well, and it's worth noting that James Madison has and always been a really good softball team. They've been a power in years past. I know they've beaten Mizzou in years past. So, I mean, they're no slouch.
Yes, they are. I want to say the last poll, I forget which poll it was I looked at, but James Madison is ranked consistently, is my point. They are a top 25 program. And, maybe they didn't beat a whole lot of great teams during the regular season, but in that Knoxville regional, they beat Tennessee and they beat Liberty twice. Liberty is a top 25 team this year, right on the edge of being in the top 25 of the polls. As for what a Mizzou fan can expect to see out of James Madison, David, it starts and ends with ODICCI Alexander. He's a stud pitcher.
No doubt.
No, she went 14-0, the ERA of 1.04. It's filthy. Her whip well under 1. Dave, you what was it, 0.78, something like that?
0.70.
0.70, even better than what I remembered. And yeah, she had 23 walks and 168 strikeouts, I believe it was. And that's in 101 innings pitched. So more than a strikeout an inning and a walk every 5 innings. So James Madison's probably going to ride or die with ODICCI Alexander. There's some thought that she may just keep pitching until her arm falls off because, frankly, she's good enough to single-handedly win the series for James Madison, but Mizzou is the better team as a whole.
It's worth mentioning that right behind her is Allison Humphrey, who had a 1.52 ERA with a whip of 82, and that's out of 87 innings pitched too. So she's no slouch either.
Right. Yeah. So if they have to go to someone besides Alexander, they're not totally screwed, but Alexander is she's been on the watch list and stuff for being one of the top players in the entire country. So there's no doubt they're going to ride her pitching as long as they possibly can. As I said, to me, it seems like Missouri as a whole is clearly a better team. David, you were at the regionals in Columbia. What did you see?
Well, besides the spectacular pitching that came from our girls, and that in itself was a rarity too, because they hadn't pitched like that all season. The bats are definitely Missouri's strength, and while they faced solid pitchers, especially the second, third time around, you could see them make adjustments and like get the runs they needed to win the games. Especially later in the games, they definitely know how to break down a pitcher. So it'll be interesting to see how they attack ODICCI, especially if they see her multiple times.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Missouri's pitching. In the regional, they gave up a grand total of 2 hits, grand total of 0 runs. Jordan Weber has fairly consistently been the game 1 starter. So I think we'd expect to see Weber pitch game 1. 1 hitter in the first game against UIC, and then she threw the no-hitter against Iowa State to clinch the regional. And we saw a change from the SEC tournament. In the SEC tournament, game 2 against Florida, that was Megan Schumacher. And frankly, it didn't go that well. Last weekend in game 2 against Northern Iowa, Larissa Anderson changed her strategy and sent Lauren Krings out there. It went much better.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren pitched a 1-hitter too. In fact, her 1-hitter was almost more impressive than Jordan's 1-hitter because she made it all the way to the second to last batter before she gave up that hit.
Yeah.
And it was, again, a bloop single. Now, Jordan did have the no-hitter against Iowa State on the last day, but, I mean, both of them, hands down, were dominant in the circle.
Yeah, so I think I would expect the Mizzou pitching to go that same pattern of Weber game 1, Krings game 2, if needed, Weber again in game 3. And then that would leave you with realistically probably Emma Nichols as your first arm out of the bullpen, especially because she is a lefty and it's going to be a change of pace, which seems to be a big point of emphasis in a lot of Coach Anderson's pitching decisions and strategies and so forth. Abby George, the right fielder, she'd been out with injury, but she came back and she made some super plays out in right field, and she was a menace on the base paths.
Yeah, her speed was very impressive. It's a game changer when you can put that much pressure on a pitcher, especially if you get onto first base. If she can continue with her slap hitting and whatnot, she'll definitely be a challenge for James Madison. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with her.
Yeah, and I think the offense needs to be patient, particularly early in the series. Maybe try and build that pitch count up. May not make much of a difference in game 1, but if it goes to a game 3 or even later in game 2, back-to-back days of 100 pitches, she's going to get a little tired, you have to think. So that's something that could pay off at the back end of a series. Hattie Moore was on fire in the regional. That definitely has to continue. Cassidy Shomo is elite defensively. It's not a Mizzou softball game if Cassidy Shomo didn't make some crazy play out in left field, it seems like. But offensively, Mizzou really needs her to pick it up. She's been struggling.
Yeah. I will say every one of these girls could walk into a home run at any time.
Yes.
They all have power. It all starts with Hattie Moore.
Mm-hmm.
The other person I would really love to see get going with our offense is Jenna Laird, as she's usually our leadoff. She's a freshman, so that's a lot of pressure on her. But this year, she's hit 378 with an OPS of 113.
Yeah, her and Brooke Wilmes at the top of the lineup. Wilmes has been great. Jenna Laird's, she's been super. She spent a bunch of the season with her batting average over 400. So her average has absolutely plummeted into the 370s. I mean, she's in a slump, but she's still doing great. Yeah. And like you said, one pitch, this team is capable, pretty much top to bottom of the lineup, of taking it out. They got a franchise or a program record for home runs for a season. So I think that'll be helpful as the team tries to figure out Odyssey Alexander, excuse me. Now it's just a matter of being selective and don't chase. Odyssey Alexander struck out, 19 Liberty Flames. The game went to extra innings, went 10 innings, but still 19 strikeouts in the regional. That's crazy.
Also, don't forget, because this game's being held at Mizzou, they get the feed off the crowd. So I'm interested to see how the crowd affects James Madison as well, because remember, most of the year, these girls haven't been playing in front of a full capacity crowd, and this is probably one of the larger ones they'll see.
Yeah, Mizzou Softball Stadium is sold out for the Super Regional, so that'll be exciting. Dave, when I look at this series as far as prediction, I think game one, I think the lineup is going to spend a lot of time figuring out Odyssey Alexander and the pitches that she makes, her approach to each individual batter. And it might be a very slow offensive game. I think by the end of it, the offense is going to figure it out. I'm going to pick Mizzou to win the series in 3 games and go back to the Women's College World Series. What say you?
It all depends on how Mizzou starts with the bats. If they come out and they can actually hit Odyssey, they'll win in 2 games. In my opinion, their batting is that good. It's the second best batting team in the SEC. They took apart Florida and almost came back and beat them to go to the SEC championship. Our pitching just didn't hold up in that end. So to me, it's just a matter of, can they break Odyssey down? If they can, they're going to win in 2. But so my prediction actually would be that they're going to win in 2, although I could see them go in 3 games as well.
Oh yeah, no. If Mizzou, I think Odyssey Alexander is going to be good enough to steal them a game for James Madison. But I agree. If Missouri comes out and is hitting Odyssey Alexander off the bat, I don't think it's going to be a competitive series. But yeah, I'm going to go in 3 games. And Dave, you got 2. I like it.
Hey, I want that Sunday off, man. Anyway, thank you for watching Under the Arc Sports. Hopefully we'll get to do another one of these for the College World Series.
See you guys next time.